In 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Today, remember that God is with you, watching over you every step of the way. When life feels overwhelming, take comfort in the truth that you are never alone. God's presence brings peace, and his love brings hope. In every moment of uncertainty, trust that his care surrounds you. Whatever you're facing today, know that God is with you, comforting, guiding, and empowering you to rise above every challenge. His peace can calm your heart. His strength can carry you through. But here's a thought. If God is always with us, why do we sometimes feel so alone? Could there be something more we're missing about his presence in our lives? Here are 7 verses from Psalm chapter 4 that discuss resting in God's care. Psalm chapter 4 is a prayer of David that reflects his trust in God's protection and peace during times of distress, emphasizing the assurance that God provides rest and security for those who rely on him. Verse 1. Answer me when I call to you, my righteous God. Give me relief from my distress. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. Verse 3. Know that the Lord has set apart his faithful servant for himself. The Lord hears when I call to him. Verse 4. Tremble and do not sin. When you are on your beds, search your hearts and be silent. Verse 5. Offer the sacrifices of the righteous and trust in the Lord. Verse 6. Many, Lord, are asking, who will bring us prosperity? Let the light of your face shine on us. Verse 7. Fill my heart with joy when their grain and new wine abound. Verse 8. In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalm chapter 4 offers profound encouragement to believers facing turmoil or uncertainty. It reminds us that God is not only a refuge, but also a source of peace that surpasses our understanding. As we seek his presence, trust in his justice, and commit ourselves to righteousness, we are assured that he will provide rest and security in the midst of life's struggles. This psalm teaches us that true peace comes from placing our trust in God, knowing that he alone is our protector and sustainer. Furthermore, Psalm chapter 4 challenges us to examine our hearts and seek inner peace through a quiet trust in God. It calls us to reflect on our actions and attitudes, especially in moments of distress, encouraging us to turn to God in prayer and surrender our worries to him. The psalm highlights the contrast between worldly anxieties and the peace that God offers, showing that when we rest in his care, we are able to experience true contentment, regardless of external circumstances. By remembering God's faithfulness and his loving protection, we can find the courage to face challenges with confidence and assurance that he is always with us, guiding and guarding our hearts. Resting in God's care is a conscious choice to trust in his protection, peace, and provision, especially during times of uncertainty or distress. Here are 5 ways to rest in God's care. The number 1. Trust in God's presence and protection. In Psalm 4 verse 3, but know that the Lord has set apart the godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call to him. Life is filled with moments of distress and uncertainty, when we feel vulnerable or exposed to the storms around us. In these times, it's easy to feel like we are alone in facing our struggles. But God offers a powerful promise. He is not only present, but he is also our protector. This verse reminds us that God has set us apart as his own and that he listens when we call. His presence isn't passive. He actively watches over us, guarding us from harm and guiding us through every trial. Imagine a child who feels afraid during a thunderstorm, but knows that their parent is nearby, keeping them safe. The child's fear is alleviated not because the storm has stopped, but because of the parent's protective presence. Similarly, God's presence in our lives offers us the protection we need to face whatever challenges arise, no matter how daunting they may seem. God's protection is not just about shielding us from physical harm. It is about his constant vigilance over every aspect of our lives. He hears our cries for help and responds with love, care, and strength. We are never out of his reach, and nothing can separate us from his protection. When we trust in God's presence and protection, we acknowledge that he is with us in every moment, ready to defend us against any danger, be it physical, emotional, or spiritual. This trust allows us to face life's storms with peace, knowing that we are safe in his hands. No matter what challenges you may be facing today, Remember, God has set you apart for Himself, and He will hear your call. Trust in His presence, and let His protection be your refuge and strength as you navigate the trials of life. In Isaiah 41 verse 10, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." This verse emphasizes God's assurance of His presence and support. It reminds us that no matter the challenges we face, God is with us, offering strength, help, and protection. His righteous right hand symbolizes His power and authority, assuring us that He will uphold us in times of trouble. In Psalm 23 verse 4, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." This verse highlights the comfort and peace found in God's presence, even in the most difficult and fearful situations. The rod and staff represent His guidance and protection, symbolizing how God's care and direction give us the courage to face our fears. The number 2, surrender your worries in prayer. In Psalm 4 verse 1, "Answer me when I call to you, my righteous God. Give me relief from my distress. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer." Life often brings distress, moments when our hearts are heavy with worry, anxiety, or fear. In these times, it's easy to hold on to our concerns, thinking we must manage them on our own. David's plea to God for relief is a reminder that we can bring our burdens to Him in prayer. Just as David called out in his distress, we too are invited to cast all our anxieties on God. As 1 Peter 5 verse 7 encourages, "Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you." God does not expect us to carry our worries alone. Instead, He invites us to surrender them to Him, trusting that He will take care of them. When we surrender our worries in prayer, we are releasing the burden of control. It's a conscious decision to trust God with what we cannot handle on our own. This act of surrender allows us to invite God's peace into our hearts, knowing that He is in control and will provide the comfort and strength we need. Think of it like carrying a heavy backpack. When we finally set it down, we feel a sense of relief and freedom. Similarly, when we surrender our worries to God, we experience the release of stress and anxiety, and we make space for His peace to fill our hearts. Prayer is not just about asking for help. It is about connecting with God and trusting Him with our deepest concerns. As we surrender our worries, we are reminded that we do not face life's challenges alone. God is with us, ready to carry our burdens and provide the peace that surpasses understanding. No matter what is weighing on your heart today, remember, you don't have to carry it alone. Surrender your worries to God in prayer and let His peace fill your heart, knowing that He is in control. In Philippians 4 verses 6 to 7, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This verse encourages us to replace anxiety with prayer, trusting God with our concerns. By approaching God with gratitude and faith, we can experience a peace that goes beyond our understanding, guarding our hearts and minds against worry and fear. In Matthew 11 verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This verse offers an invitation from Jesus to those who are overwhelmed and exhausted by life's struggles. It highlights God's promise of rest and renewal for those who seek Him, providing relief from burdens and offering peace for the soul. The number 3, reflect and seek inner peace. In Psalm 4 verse 4, "Tremble and do not sin. When you are on your beds, search your hearts and be silent." Life is filled with noise, constant demands, distractions, and the rush of everyday tasks. In the midst of it all, it can be hard to hear God or experience the peace He offers. This verse invites us to pause and reflect, to quiet our hearts and minds. Sometimes, the key to finding peace in the chaos is simply taking a moment of stillness. When we are still before God, we create space to search our hearts, to examine our thoughts, and to allow His presence to bring us peace. Imagine a busy, cluttered room. To find clarity, we need to stop, clear the space, and let the dust settle. Similarly, When we quiet our minds and reflect, we give God the room to speak and to fill us with His peace. In those moments of silence, we are able to connect with God in a deeper way, experiencing His gentle presence and the peace that surpasses all understanding. This practice of reflection and stillness is not about escaping from life's challenges, but about recentering ourselves on God's truth and letting His peace restore us. It's in these moments of quiet that we can hear God's voice more clearly, reminding us of His love and His constant care. When we seek inner peace, we make time to listen, reflect, and be still. This practice helps us to realign with God's will and to find the calm we need to face life's struggles. No matter what may be weighing on your heart today, remember, take a moment to reflect and be silent. In that stillness, you will experience the peace of God that transcends all understanding. In Psalm 46, verse 10, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." This verse calls us to pause and recognize God's sovereignty over all things. In moments of chaos or uncertainty, being still helps us acknowledge God's control and eternal power. It reminds us that despite life's turbulence, God's purpose will ultimately prevail, and He will be honored everywhere. In Isaiah 26, verse 3, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you." This verse emphasizes that peace comes from unwavering trust in God. When we focus our minds on Him and remain steadfast in our faith, God grants us perfect peace, guarding our hearts from fear and anxiety. It assures us that trust in God is the foundation for lasting tranquility. The number 4, trust in God's timing and justice. In Psalm 4, verse 6, "Many, Lord, are asking, 'Who will bring us prosperity?' Let the light of your face shine on us." Life often brings moments of uncertainty and injustice, when it feels like things are out of control or unfair. In those times, it's easy to become anxious or frustrated, wondering when things will change. David's words remind us to trust in God's timing. Even when we can't see the outcome, we can rest in the assurance that God is at work, bringing light and prosperity according to His perfect will. His timing is never late or early, but always right, and He is committed to bringing about justice in His way. Imagine waiting for a seed to grow. It takes time, care, and patience. The process may seem slow, but in due time, the seed will sprout and the fruit will come. Similarly, God's timing works in ways that we might not always understand, but we can trust that He is bringing things to fruition at the right moment. In moments when life feels unfair, remember that God is working behind the scenes. We don't have to try to fix everything or make things right on our own. God sees the bigger picture, and He is using every situation, both good and bad, to bring about His justice and goodness. When we trust in God's timing and justice, we release the need for control. We rest in the assurance that God is working things for our good, even when we cannot yet see the full picture. His justice will prevail, and His timing will be perfect. No matter what uncertainty or injustice you may be facing today, remember, trust in God's timing and His ability to bring justice in His way. He is always at work, even when we cannot see it. In Romans 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This verse reminds us that even in difficult circumstances, God is working for our ultimate good. It assures us that God, in His perfect timing, orchestrates all events for the benefit of those who love Him and follow His purpose, even when we can't see it in the moment. In Psalm 37, verse 5, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will do this. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun." This verse emphasizes the importance of trusting God with our plans and actions. When we commit ourselves to Him and trust His guidance, He promises to bring about justice and vindication, rewarding us for our faithfulness, just as the sun rises in the morning to reveal the truth. The number 5, embrace the peace God offers. In Psalm 4, verse 8, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." Life is filled with stress, anxiety, and worry, especially when we face situations that seem out of our control. In these moments, it can be difficult to find rest or peace. However, David reminds us that true peace comes from trusting in God's care. When we place our confidence in His protection and provision, we can experience peace that transcends circumstances. The peace God offers is not based on the absence of trouble, but on the presence of His safety and security in our lives. Imagine a child peacefully sleeping in the arms of a loving parent, knowing that they are completely safe and protected. Similarly, when we trust in God's care, we can rest in the assurance that He is watching over us, keeping us secure no matter what challenges we may face. God is our refuge, our safe place. When we embrace the peace He offers, we acknowledge that our safety and security are not dependent on the world around us, but on the strength and protection of God Himself. This peace enables us to lie down and rest, confident that we are safe in His hands. When we trust in God's ability to keep us safe, we release our fears and anxieties, allowing His peace to fill our hearts. This peace is a gift from God, one that allows us to rest deeply and find calm in the midst of life's storms. No matter what uncertainties you may be facing today, remember, embrace the peace that God offers. He is your refuge, and you can rest confidently in His ability to keep you safe and secure. In John 14, verse 27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." This verse highlights the unique peace that Jesus offers, a peace that is different from what the world can provide. It assures us that, despite life's challenges, we can find rest in Christ's peace, which brings comfort and calm to our hearts, removing fear and anxiety. In 2 Thessalonians 3, verse 16, "Now may the Lord of peace Himself give you peace at all times and in every way. The Lord be with all of you." This verse speaks of God's continual presence and peace. It reassures us that God, the source of true peace, will provide peace in every circumstance, at all times, and in every way, reminding us that His presence is always with us to bring calm and stability. In conclusion, remember that God's presence is constant, and He is always by your side, providing peace, strength, and comfort in times of uncertainty. Just as David expressed his trust in God's protection in Psalm chapter 4, we too can rest in the assurance that God is with us through every trial and challenge. Though we may sometimes feel alone, we are reminded to trust in God's care and lean into His promises. May His peace fill your heart and give you the confidence to face each day knowing He is always near, ready to guide and uphold you. As you reflect on His presence, let the words of Psalm 4 encourage you to rest in His security and experience the joy and peace only He can provide.